Well, folks, here we are at Caura, Pool 1, and I'm with Carl, all the way from Italy. So, Carl, we were talking a while ago about marriage, and you were talking about obstacles.
Yeah. And the thing is, like I've been in the Army. I spent 32 and a half years in the United States Army. And usually there's, the things we used to is like obstacles. Obstacles, you either go around, you go over, you go through it, which is basically the same thing with marriage. And what I was trying to tell Lance here, it says, marriage is not like an obstacle course. In an obstacle course, you can look down the line and you can see the obstacles that you have to negotiate. So you can say, I got to climb this one, I have to jump that one, I got to go through this one, go over that one. But that's not marriage. Marriage is just a course filled with obstacles. And these obstacles pop up. And when they pop up, you have to negotiate them before you can move forward. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it is. I mean, or else you would forever be stuck at a standstill. Because like I said before, you just can't, it's just like you just can't look down the line and say, okay, I'll jump this one and then that's the end of it. It has to be some sort of communication. Because again, marriage is a partnership. Mm-hmm. And in partnership, there's somebody else involved. So you have to have some sort of cooperation, collaboration in order to negotiate that obstacle and move forward if you want your life to improve, basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me something, in Italy, is there a heavy divorce rate? Is there a lot of marriages? What's it like?
I think what happened, I think people in Italy get married at a later age. So unlike other countries where you have a lot of young people getting married, they tend to get married at a later age. But the thing is, they don't usually leave the house that they like the male. Usually the wife is brought into the house, an extension is put in the back, so they're familiar. So a lot of the things that they do together. Just the joining of two families. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, okay, I got married and now I'm moving clear across the United States or clear across Trinidad to the other side. I get married and my wife moved from her village into the house that my parents live in. Mm-hmm. As far as divorce,
excuse me, we have not to be touching that too.
Or it makes sensitive.
Yeah. Yes, it's sensitive. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as far as divorce, divorce is not something that's really common. As far as I see, we're looking out from my perspective. Divorce is not common. I mean, divorce is easy. Marriage is hard.
Divorce is easy, marriage is hard.
Marriage is hard.
Indeed.
Because divorce, you can always say, I give up. It's like a race. I run this race, and when I feel like quitting, I can just say, okay, I'm just put off to the side, and that's it. I don't have to complete this race because maybe there's nothing in it for me. But in marriage, you just, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. It gets hard when you have to work on those things that each other brings to the table, which means that you have your issues, I have my issues. I like the green, you like the blue. We settle on the red, kind of thing. But it's for anyone who's think that you look at maybe the Huxtables and that Bill Cosby show and think that this is what marriage is going to be like. Or they're in for a big surprise. In for a big surprise. Marriage don't work like that. It takes work. It takes a lot of work. And sometimes you get tired. And that's when you start thinking, this is the ideal time to get a divorce because I'm tired. But it's just that you can never be too tired to work through those issues that you have. But those issues will forever be there. We are two different people. And there's, it's like conflict. People would say conflict is workable. It's not avoidable, I would say.
It's workable.
Yes. Yeah, but it's not avoidable. I mean, like I said, like I live, you live with your wives, you live with your kids, and there's conflicts with the people you get married, the people the children that you father, and the people that you love the most, you have conflict with. So when you go to work, if you have conflict with the people that you work with, it's no different. It's not, you can't just brush it away. It's going to be there. And conflict in marriage is real.
Yes.
It's real. It's not something that you can say, well, okay, we just brush it and move. Because if you do not take care of the issue, that issue will always be there. And it pops up sometimes at the most inconvenient time. So if you approach it, you solve it, you get it out of the way, that's all that matters. I'm not saying that you sit, now that you've popped up that one, you sit back and you wait for the next conflict to pop up. That's not what I'm saying. But you know that it's not going to be, there's always going to be something in marriage that comes up that you have to deal with. Yes.
So tell me about Italian cuisine.
Oh, Italian cuisine is basically based on pasta. Pasta is like the main ingredients of all the cuisines in Italy. And there's many types. We talk about pasta. It's not just, you got short one, long one, wrong one, flat ones. You got, you hear spaghetti. When we talk about, you hear somebody say, oh, I'm spaghetti, can I just get some spaghetti and meatballs? That's not something that you would find in Italy. That is just something that was made in America probably somewhere. But you wouldn't find like spaghetti and meatballs as a dish, a cuisine addition in Italy. It's a very, Italians are very familiar. So most time you have a lot of little mom and pop stores and they pop up and they got some really good food. There's something that they usually refer to as a menu fisso, which is basically at lunchtime, all the workers go to this place and they have a lunch at a fixed lunch at a fixed price. So it's a variety. It varies from day to day, but the prices doesn't change with when the days changes.
Very good. Well, in Trinidad now things are prices are really going up. What's it like in Italy?
I think it's a product. People say it's COVID. But I think there's a lot of different elements involved in the way food prices are rising, and it's not just food prices; it's the goods, it's basic merchandise, because there's a lot of things happening. Yeah, COVID was devastating, and I think we can probably look back now and we can see some sort of normalcy. But COVID ended, and then I know, like, at least in America, there's places where there's drought. And in Italy, there's a drought. So, you have to ration water. And again, you look at America. The Mississippi, the water is basically drying up in the Mississippi in some places. So, a lot of, I don't remember what percentage of merchandise moved to the Mississippi, but it's a large percentage of the one that make it to American household, or make it to the stores, or make it to wherever. And when you can't get those goods moving in a place like the Mississippi, which probably transport probably a lot more than probably 40% of America's cargo, you can't get the goods to the places that it has to get to. So there's usually a shortage. And when there's a shortage of something, the people are going to raise the price.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we say we blame the government for this, we blame the government for that, sometimes it's not the government's fault. It's just sometimes it's based on weather phenomenons. It's just basic stuff like that. Yeah.
So you left Trinidad how many years ago?
I left Trinidad in 1983. I was in the police service. I joined the police service in 1979. I served 4 years. I worked at GEB. I worked.
What's GEB?
The Guard and Emergency Branch.
Guard and Emergency.
Back at the usually guarding the houses of the ministers back then. I don't know what it is now. You're basically there for riot control if you needed to be. And after I left GEB, basically back then, the first 6 months after you graduated from the police training college, you moved to GEB.
Okay.
And then after GEB, then when the next batch graduated, you would move out to basically the stations, and then they would basically assume your spot. So I moved after GEB, I moved to Grand Couva. Well, I basically moved to Chagones, and then from Chagones I worked on the task force. And then I moved to Grand Couva, moved to Couva later on. Then I moved to Cunupia. I took some vacation. I came to the United States. I signed up for the military, and then I left. So in 1983, I basically joined the U.S. Army, and moved on to basic training at Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Now, the Army is probably the Army. I would say the Army is probably one of the easiest job that anybody can have.
What makes it easy?
The basic things. As a private, somebody's always going to tell you what to do. So you don't have to guess what you have to do. Somebody's going to tell you this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
But they'll always say, like, anybody who's listening to this that knows American Army, they'll say you always have to be at the right place, at the right time, and in the right uniform. If you can get those three things right, the Army is the easiest place that you can have a career.
Very good.
So after basic training, and I went to advanced individual training for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear operations, and I graduated from Fort McClellan, Alabama. In 1984, I moved to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to the 63rd Chemical Company. Spent 2 years there. In 1986, December of '86, I moved to Germany, and I was assigned to 8-inch field artillery unit from Germany. I moved back to Alabama as a drill instructor, training the next generation of soldiers. Stayed there for 2 years. Then I moved on back to Germany. This time it was in Kitzingen, Germany, and I did a stint in Bosnia for 8 months. Left Bosnia, came back to Germany, and then went to Panama. I stayed in Panama for 9 months. Moved to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, stayed there for 3 years.
Wow.
From Fort Jackson, I moved to Fort Hood, Texas. Stayed in Texas for 3 years, and then I went to Saudi Arabia. But before going to Saudi Arabia, I found out I had made the list to go to school to the Psalmations Academy in Fort Bliss. So after 11 months in Saudi Arabia, I moved to Fort Bliss for school for 9 months. I graduated in 2007, and then I moved to Aberdeen Proving Ground to be a tech escort team leader. After completing I got promoted. Well, from there we actually deployed to Bosnia with a technical escort team for 9 months.
What was it like in Bosnia?
Well, you know, not Bosnia, basically it was Iraq. Not Bosnia, but Iraq.
Okay.
Bosnia was back Bosnia was back earlier in the early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. But after moving to Iraq, I guess I wasn't a frontline soldier. I had a team, and our team was basically there. If they found something that was chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, identified in those categories, then we were responsible for going and take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
The year that I remember there was a talk about what was it? They sent a team into, was it Iran, and they were looking for these weapons.
Weapons of mass destruction.
What was that like?
That was actually before the war started. They said Saddam always had a biological, nuclear. He had a chemical program. I don't know what happened to it. But when we were there were remnants of chemical weapons that we found.
Remnants.
There were remnants of it. So we would find, or folks would find maybe an M22 rocket, and we basically had to go and get it and destroy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Fine. So before you left Trinidad, you lived in?
I lived in Moruga. What they consider a country bookie. I graduated from Grand Chimay RC School. Back in 1979, actually 1975.
Okay.
And then I joined the police service in 1979 after a stint of working odd jobs here and there. I used to work at Corporative. I don't think they're no longer in business. Back in Laventille on the Eastern Main Road.
You pronounce that like a Trinidadian, right? Laventille. Laventille, yes, that's great. So, would you say that you consider yourself a happy Trini living in Italy?
Yeah, you know the one thing, I will never deny my country of birth. No matter where I go, when people ask me where I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Very good. Sir.
I am not going to deny where I came from. I know people I know people who would say, I left Trinidad, and if I see Trinidad in the bread, I'm not going to eat it. I think that's just ignorance. You can you can leave Trinidad, you can leave any country that you were born in. I mean, Africans, a lot of Africans, you meet a lot of Africans in the army, they don't deny where they come from. Americans don't deny where they come from.
Mhm.
So why should you?
Why should you, man?
Why should you deny where you came from?
Yeah.
You should be proud of where you came from. I mean, we have our problems. We have our issues in Trinidad, just like every other country have their issues. I mean, but are we going to run away from it? Or are we going to face it and try to make it better?
Mhm, mhm.
You know, people would say, you know, you listen to that Black Stallion song, you know that? I think there was a Caribbean man.
The Caribbean man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Caribbean man. That's who I am. I'm Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm a Caribbean man.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a U.S. citizen, and it's something that I had to. Being in the army, to have a secret clearance, you have to be a citizen.
Right.
So I had to become a citizen.
Mhm.
But I mean, overall, I mean, when folks in the U.S. hear me talk, they're like, "Hey, where are you from?" Hey, I'm from Trinidad. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. That's where I'm from.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. That's great. So tomorrow, please God, you hope to go to Moruga.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Back in Moruga, I got my family there, the Alpheus who live down there on Laloon Road. I got the other Philip. I remember I didn't say Phillips. Gotta say again, I'm only a Phillips at the family reunion when all the Phillips get together. You have the Phillips family reunion. So I got my uncle and his kids. And when I come home, you know, if I can, I'll spend all my time in the country. Because that's what I know. That's where my friends are, or that's where my friends were, some of them. And that's where I feel comfortable.
Very good.
You know, like they would say, you kick off your shoes, you know, no shirt, no shoes, no problem. I'm home.
I'm home, but I'm home. Well, I am glad you're here with Arlene, and who happens to be my cousin. You know, and I'm very happy to see both of you in Trinidad.
Yeah.
So enjoy your stay down in Moruga,
Thank you.
and we hope one day we might meet up in Italy.
Yeah, and again, if you're looking at this and you want to come to Italy and you don't have a place to stay, again, when you take a vacation, finding a place to stay is probably the most expensive. I'm Trinidadian. I'm gonna, you know, all you gotta do is come out. You have a place to stay, and you can use me as a landing pad.
Oh, my friend, thank you very much.
All right,
All the
anytime.
best. Okay, all the best.
All right.